How are you? Welcome to the Entrepreneur Experiment podcast with me, Gary Fox. Today, my guest is celebrity chef and entrepreneur, Eoin Sheehan. Enjoy this chat with Eoin. I've got a massive ambition for this podcast. I want to make this the #1 business podcast in the world. If I'm going to do that, I've got to be world class on every single level. And that includes having a world class studio, which I now have at Iconic Offices, The Green Room. It's an incredible space. I first recorded here with my live pod back in June and I loved it. And get this, it's publicly bookable. That means you can go online and book it right now. As I said, it's called The Green Room. It's a private cinema and screening room. That means it's perfect to wow a client with a pitch, host a private screening, or do what I do, record a podcast here. So, as I record here, and as you know, I'm a member of Iconic Offices, I've got the team at Iconic Offices to hook us up with a number of exclusive complimentary office trials and discounts for my audience for booking this exact space. No catches. Simply go to the web link in the description, grab the offer that works best for you. Thanks, Iconic Offices. Ever find yourself jumping from task to task? Sudden eureka moments at the weirdest hours, and you forget little details? Does that sound familiar? That might be ADHD, and ADHD Now are here to help. Their experienced clinical professionals conduct video consultations at your schedule and help you manage and understand these symptoms, turning them into your unique assets. Visit adhdnow.ie/Fox and use the code FOX10 at checkout for 10% discount on your initial consultation and full assessment. I'm building much more than a podcast with the Entrepreneur Experiment and have a very clear vision of what I'm trying to achieve. One of those goals was to get involved in funding Irish businesses, and I've just achieved that goal. I've joined the Quintus Capital team as a special advisor to the EIS Innovation Fund. I spent the last couple of years getting to know the team, learning about the industry, and the time has come to join forces. The EIS Innovation Fund has invested in several of the podcast guests you know and love already, such as Matthew and Katie from Squid and Peggy Crowley of Brown Wellbeing, which has made the decision to join the fund a really, really simple one. EIS Tax Relief provides significant tax refunds to investors who back Irish SMEs. However, the main issue with EIS is finding the right companies to invest in. This is where the EIS Innovation Fund comes in. It has an experienced management team to allocate your capital. They're now raising capital for November and December to deploy in 2024. If you are interested in becoming an investor, please visit eis.fund, so EIIS.fund, or download a copy of the online brochure in the show notes. Eoin, welcome to the pod.
Thank you, Gary. Good to be here.
It's great to be in front of you.
I'm buzzing. Long time. I watch it enough now. I watch it enough to be here finally. It's great.
You're a watcher, not a listener, are you?
Well, I'm both. It depends. If I'm driving, if I'm in the car, I listen. But no, I like to watch. It's kind of funny. I'll put it on, but it'll be like a sub tab on my laptop or whatever while I'm working. So I'll kind of glance every now and then. But yeah, I like seeing, especially the faces. If I'm listening a lot, I like to see the faces. Or if I'm listening to a podcast, I'll Google the guest just to picture their face, and then I can listen away. And I'm weird at that. I kind of like to visualize them when I see them.
I do the same. There's certain pods I kind of want to watch.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. And I will, if I'm at the laptop, I'll watch it. Obviously in the car, I'll just have it on in audio. But I do prefer if there's a video version.
There's something nice. There's something, I don't know, I find it comforting or just relaxing to watch a conversation as well. I probably take in the information just as easily listening, but there's just something nice. If I suppose I don't watch much TV and stuff.
Yeah.
YouTube is what I usually use, and it's typically podcast forums or clips of podcasts, whatever. But yeah, I like watching them.
All this heavy investment in Ben and all the equipment is paying off. So
yeah,
there's at least one person watching.
Yeah, clip it.
Yeah, I'm the same, and I do think it's becoming more normal to watch it. The numbers are growing. Obviously, we do it mainly for the clips and stuff.
Yes, yeah.
The social clips, because I found I was consuming way more clips. I'd watch I might watch 8-9 clips of an episode and then go, okay, I'm in.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's where people's attention is on their phones, I think you have to now, regardless whether you're, filming or not, you need sound bites that need to be a visual representation. It might be a video, but you need something because you need to be where the eyeballs are. The eyeballs are on socials, whatever platform you choose. I think you need, it's always been that for me because food is so visual.
Yes.
I've always had to really double down on visuals, both video content, photo content, audio, ASMR food is minor compared to the visual side of things.
Talk to me about that. Anyone that's watching will recognize you. Anyone that's listening might recognize the voice. They might not. Why would people recognize you?
I'm Eoin Sheehan. I am a food blogger, TV chef from Limerick. Born and bred in West Limerick. Started off cooking from there. Started my own business in Limerick Country Munch and got into the world of media. Fell into the world of media, really.
How?
I only said this recently. I think I always was looking for a platform to talk and interact and entertain, and food was that medium for me. I think if I wasn't food, I would have found a different way of doing it.
Really?
Yeah, because when I was an engineer, so I'm a chemical and biochemical engineer.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I'm a qualified chemical and biochemical engineer. Hated it. Terrible engineer.
Really? Why? Okay, there's a lot to start off with here. Okay, you've got. Where did the transition come to food then?
When I was in college. So, when I was in 6th year in school, I was good at chemistry and I was good at maths and I was good at rugby. And I wanted to play rugby as a profession. That was the only goal for me. So I knew Munster Rugby I knew well. I was like, cool. I Googled chemistry and maths courses, or a career guidance counsellor was like chemical engineering. And I Googled the salary of a chemical engineer. Really good. I was like, this is absolutely mint.
What's not to like?
I was like, perfect, good salary. I'll probably play rugby by the time it gets to that. So
it's just a backup plan, a really healthy backup plan.
And my best friend said he'd do the same. So myself and my best friend, we both did chemical engineering, went to UL together.
That's gas.
We were both good at chemistry and maths, and he was good at physics, in fairness, and I wasn't great at physics. But we were decent at chemical engineering. But I just never took to it. I had no passion for it at all.
It's mental, isn't it? How at like 15, 16, 17, you're expected to look down this really boring list of courses that you have no idea what they are. You have like first notion of what a chemical engineer does.
Clue.
You go,
I remember.
That's what I'm going to do for my life.
You know what? And this is so ridiculous. Like, the final nail in the coffin for me was the picture in the career guidance book for a chemical engineer was these really cool test tubes with bright chemicals in them. So it was like 3 vials of like bright red, bright orange, bright green chemicals. And I remember being like, that's cool.
That's sick.
Yeah. I was like, done. Went to UL. Thinking, and it was always, and I was progressing well in rugby, so I was playing rugby at a high level, and I was always kind of on the fringes, trying to break somewhat into the lower Munster ranks, into the development squad or the A's, and I was thereabouts. So for me, it was just a matter of time, and I was kind of ticking the box of it's a good stable degree, kept mum and dad happy, to be honest, a good engineering degree, because I had looked at like sports science and stuff, and the career prospects weren't as promising.
Probably would have been a better fit, ironically.
100%.
Yeah,
that's
it's mad, isn't it?
That's what I wanted to do, really. Yeah. But did that and found food when I went to college. Left Mammy's dinners. Mammy couldn't cook for me anymore. There's a really important note here. I was 16 and 16 stone. I was 17 and 17 stone. And I was turning 18 and I was nearly 18 stone.
What?
I was nearly 100 kilos. I was a big prop now. That's why I was good at rugby.
That's wild.
Yeah, so I'm...
What are you now?
70. I competed in jiu-jitsu recently at 73 kilos.
Like...
So I sit at around 76,
it's hard to even imagine you that.
Yeah, I can show you photos, man. It's hilarious.
Oh, definitely. We'll put them up on screen now.
Yeah. So that was it. So that's what I was like when I went to college.
That's wild.
And the biggest thing for me is I had to cook for myself. So I had to fend for myself now. So I started cooking my own dinners. Thought nothing of it, didn't know what I was cooking, and I only did a demo in a school in Dublin yesterday to kids, and I was telling this exact story, and I didn't know what I was eating, and I didn't know how much of the food I should be eating. They were 2 really important things. So even as I got better with my nutrition, I still didn't know how much of it to be eating. So for me, I was ticking the box because I was eating chicken and pasta and rice, but I was eating monstrous portions of it. So
with rugby and with sports,
that was it.
More is better.
And I always kind of say that me being overweight as a teenager wasn't really highlighted to me because it was spun positively through rugby. So it wasn't a case of you're overweight on. It's like Owen's good at rugby. You know,
He needs it. Yeah.
That was always the thing. More is better. Bigger is better. Mass moves mass. You know, that was always the thing.
Mass moves mass. I love that.
So started cooking for myself, and at that time I was training twice a day, morning and evening, college during the day. Pretty intensive college as well.
Right, so you
course.
had a big calorie burn there.
Yeah, big calorie burn and lack of time. So I started meal prepping. That was the thing for me. Didn't have time in the evening to cook dinner. I'd come home from college at 5, I'd train at 7, wouldn't be home till 10. And we were being kind of urged more to look after our nutrition, especially the props, like, boys, you need to keep your food high, keep eating. So I started prepping my meals. So I'd cook bolognese, but I'd make 3 portions, put 2 in the fridge, eat 1 that night. And this was 2014, 2015 maybe. Instagram was just kind of big. Snapchat were just becoming things. So I remember I was just documenting what I was doing.
Right.
Didn't know.
Where were you learning?
YouTube. YouTube,
okay.
yeah.
That makes sense.
I was just Googling recipes, and I could fend for myself. You know, I had learned enough at home from Mam and watching Mam and all that kind of stuff, so I could cook the basics. But yeah, any more from that, then it was YouTube or it was recipe books or social media. So I remember I was just documenting what I was doing. Like, meal prepping for the week, #fitness. I know, in the early days.
Shows you the value of timing, though.
Yeah. That's why I was early to it at that point. So I started documenting it and YouTube. Started YouTube back then in first year of college, 2014.
I love this because I didn't know this bit about you at all. Like that, you were just trying to solve your own problem.
Yeah, 100, and that's without a doubt. That's why it worked. Is because I was our first customer, and in that year period, I lost 25 kilos.
What?
So I was, not only was I talking the talk, but I was walking the walk as well. So I was talking about cooking, batch cooking. I lost a lot of weight that year.
That's huge, because anyone looking at you now will go, he would not have 25 kilo to lose.
Yeah,
Where
I
would it
lost
come
25,
from?
yeah. So I remember I was touching 100 kilos, about 98 kilos. I got down to
that's
70,
huge.
low 70s.
Were you trying to? Were you intentionally trying to?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%, yeah. I wasn't initially, and then, like, just one morning I was like, hang on a minute. Like, watching what I'm eating, cooking for myself, eating a bit healthier, I'm starting to lose weight. I had really bad acne. My acne cleared up. I was way more confident. You know, there's a whole another subsection there of, like, I had no confidence as a teenager. You know, I was always overweight. I was the sports guy, but I had this newfound confidence in first year in college, which was savage. You know, first time ever getting female attention. There was so many correlations here to, like, this is only benefiting me. And there's a kind of double-edged sword there where I have obsessive tendencies. So I really doubled down on that then. So that became my identity.
You were getting the immediate, not immediate, but you were getting
I was
the
getting
reward.
gratification from it. Yeah. Big time.
There's a big lesson there. Like, I think we tend to overcomplicate things.
Yeah.
You always look for the magic bullet when in reality it's kind of what you did there. You're like, I'll just take a very logical approach to this. Yeah. I'll take control of it myself. I think a lot of people look externally for the answer.
But I hadn't a clue what I was doing. That was the funniest part. Like, I was just cooking dinners for myself, documenting it on Instagram and Snapchat. And then one day, a friend from home texted me. He's like, look, man, I'm working 12-hour shifts. Would you cook 5 dinners for me? Initially, I was like, no, I can't, man. I was like, look, I'm up the walls. Like, I'm cooking for myself. I'm still trying to break into this rugby team. And they're after telling me now that I need to put back on weight if I want to play.
I was going to ask you, how did that weight
that ended my
decline?
career, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Really?
Well, I was drip fed from prop into hooker, into flanker, into centre, into winger, onto sub hooker for a season or 2. And then I kind of knew then. And it was kind of a decision like, okay, do I put back on the weight and go for this, or do I keep going? Do I feel great? I'm getting traction online. I'm growing my following. And John had texted me looking for meals. And initially I said no. And then he said, I'll give you 10 a meal. I was like, cool. Okay. Do you want 50 quid? Could actually be handy.
Yeah.
We go to Angel Lane every Thursday night. That would pay for my taxi and a few drinks in.
Yeah.
And that genuinely was
the second customer. You were the first one. There was the second one.
Yeah. And there was no level of business acumen to it. I remember it being, Christ, a bit of pocket money will be class.
But you're solving a problem. Like, again, it goes back to overthinking things. Like, a lot of entrepreneurs tend to build a solution, but then go looking for the problem.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Whereas all the great stories I've heard.
I accidentally started it, yeah. And he was the first customer, and he accidentally started my business He brought the dinners to work. His friend in work saw him. His friend bought a 5 off me next week. So then I made 100 quid that week. So then I was like, hang on a second.
Wait a second.
Here. So then started to then I was posting. I was like, oh yeah, I'm selling meals now.
Yeah.
Like, no clue of like health and safety, business setup, whatever. Like, this was coming from my college dorm in Limerick. So just kind of tipped away at that. Was still engineering inside. Keeping, for me, it was kind of keeping the front facade up of, okay, I could be an engineer, but this is really exciting.
Yeah.
Went home in third year, lived at home again. And I remember, like, at that point, I would get up on like a Monday morning, Tuesday morning, maybe 5 a.m. I'd cook 50 or 60 dinners, freeze them, go to college for the day, come home, and then deliver them that night. So it was a full on startup, exciting startup at that point. But it was a massive workload. And the biggest thing was I could like spend 6 hours, 7 hours, 8 hours grinding away at this, and then go in and do an hour lecture, and the hour lecture would kill me.
Really?
I'd leave the lecture and be like, oh, that was disaster. Like, I can't wait to go home.
But you just enjoyed the
Loved
food,
it.
like, even though it's a hard graft.
Yeah,
like.
didn't feel like work in the slightest.
Interesting. So you just fell into it.
So exciting, yeah. And really enjoyed the cooking. So just like snowballed from there. Started selling more dinners, started posting more recipes. And like, kind of like that we spoke a while ago. I wanted to... I had a kind of good idea of like, right, I could do something with the socials here. I still thought I'd be more in the fitness world. I hadn't looked at the food world much. I was trying to be the PT, posting a lot of training. And that was the thing for me. I could post a video of me squatting, a video of me gymming, a video of my workout, and they would like, get 10 likes, 10 likes, 10 likes. I'd post my breakfast, that would get 50 likes. I was like, people are way more interested in what I'm eating as opposed to what I'm doing.
So you're doing your market research just
because
by
everyone
living life.
was trying to be a fitness influencer back then. That was like the cusp of like YouTube fitness influencers. There was no one really doing food. Even to like, there's more to this day, like, but fitness world is far bigger than the food world. And there's a huge correlation there.
Yeah.
One needs the other.
Yeah, one literally feeds the other.
Yeah. So I then, at a certain point, I was like, right, I'm going to double down on the food. So I want to be the food guy.
When did you think it was a business? When did you go?
I remember
more
the night.
than a bit of
my
crack.
mother had to help me packing meals at home, and we to use a neighbour's freezer. And I remember, Mum was even like, "Geez, this is mad." And I was like, "Yeah, this is nuts." Like,
You're hired.
yeah. So yeah, at that point, I never knew if it would be sustainable. Like, but I knew I really enjoyed it, and I was making cash from it at the time illegally. But I just loved it. Absolutely loved it. So I was like, yeah, this could... I remember thinking, like, if I could do this, this would be class. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but if I could, this would be really, really fun. And every day I went to college was like positive reinforcement to go and try and figure it out when I go home.
Right.
Because I was like, if you don't figure this out, you need to be this. And I'm in chemistry lab, pouring vials in test tubes. And I'm like, oh, this is painful stuff. Like, I need to really buckle down here and figure this out.
That's really important, though.
Yeah.
You got to know what you don't want to do.
And I did work experience as a chemical engineer. Went abroad for 8 months. Worked as a chemical engineer.
What was that like?
It was good. I moved to Malta. Did it in Malta. So I lived in Malta for 8 months.
Malta's class. Ben and the lads were in Malta this weekend.
No way.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So I lived there.
It's a great spot.
Lived there for 8 months. Loved it. Had a great time.
How did you end up there?
It was really funny story as well. I was supposed to do... So I had worked a summer internship in Johnson Johnson, in Visticon, locally in Limerick.
Yeah.
And my co-op was coming up on third year, and there was a good chance I could go back to Johnson Johnson. So I was working in Johnson Johnson that night, and working 12-hour night shifts, 7 to 7, half 7 to half 7. It was about 4 in the morning. And I was in the pitch, and I was like, I can't do this. This can't be my life. And I emailed the university. I was like, look, is there any chance you put me onto the international list for co-op? I was like, I'm afraid I'll get an Irish business, or I'm afraid I'll stay regional.
Translation, I'm afraid I'll be stuck here.
Yeah, not to badmouth Johnson.
No, but it's just more so even the night shifts alone.
Yeah,
as a young lad as well. Like that
was
just destroys your life, your social life.
Yeah, harrowing for me to be like, Christ, this could be...
It could be your future.
Yeah. So I emailed them, and like 2 weeks later they emailed back saying, look, there's a spot open up in Malta. I had to Google where Malta was. I had no idea.
Done. I'm there.
I was like, yeah, perfect.
Sunny.
So I moved there, worked as a chemical engineer.
Class.
The work was grand. You know, didn't love it. Wasn't particularly good at it, which was frustrating because I was typically good at most other things. And I was good on paper as a chemical engineer. Couldn't apply myself in work. So distracted. Always got in trouble for being on YouTube watching vlogs. Always. Wrote a full blog series, articles in the drafts of my work emails. So when I go home, I copy and paste them all my work email into
nice.
my... So I was literally doing anything but working. But outside of that, I was doing so much in food in Malta. I was, you know, the bigger story here is I was skint. We were getting paid pittance back then. You get 2 subsidies from the university, but they were very spread out. So you get one at, like, when you go and 1 6 months in,
Right.
and we're making like $3.50 an hour, something scandalous.
Wow.
So I had this brainwave of I would contact restaurants. I would go in with my vlog camera because I was YouTubing weekly at that point, probably twice a week.
Really?
Yeah, I was weekly anyway, at least. So I had this brainwave. I would go into the restaurant, I'd film a review for them, I'd edit it, give it to them, they can post it on their socials as advertisement. I eat for free. That was my only thing.
That was it?
Yeah.
Good deal.
Don't get paid. Give me the meal for free. I'll make a video of it, my experience.
That's a great deal.
Yeah. So I went to TripAdvisor, Googled restaurants in Malta, copy and pasted every restaurant email there, blind copied them to an email,
Love it.
sent the pitch out, and I did literally every weekend.
Good take up.
I was booked out.
Really?
Yeah. I'd eat out 3 times a day,
That's class.
get content for myself, save money for myself. And the biggest learning curve there, and I didn't know at the time, I was getting super comfortable on camera.
I was just going to say, you're
Yeah.
doing your reps.
Yeah, yeah. If you go back and look at my YouTube videos, I've my reps done for years. I've been talking on camera since 2014, about food, cooking food, talking about myself, everything. The early days of the business, first catering event, those early days when I'm going to neighbours with Mam, I vlogged all that.
That's
my whole thing was like,
mad.
this is
That's
the
class.
blueprint. And
Yeah.
it was like, from a point of ego, it was like, in years to come, people will look at this and they'll be like, this was the blueprint to...
This is where it all started.
Country Munch, yeah. And I thank God I was right. Yeah, it was. So yeah, did that in Malta. Came home with a really clear. Malta was super intensive. I suppose work on what I want the vision to be. It was quite isolated. Like I went over. Well, I lived with 2 other Irish girls who were I'm good friends with. Like, but I spent most of my time working. Didn't socialize much. That kind of obsessive tendency was definitely, it was really prevalent around that time. Was just absorbed by it.
So had you made the decision then to go all in on it? Like?
Oh yeah, yeah.
So what was the vision like? What was the plan?
It was to come home. I had parked the meal prep service whilst gone to Malta. So it was come home and start back up again, hopefully retain those clients, build from there and go into catering and healthy meal prep. I didn't really know what it would look like, grand scheme. I knew there was appetite for that niche, and I knew that I could use my skill of talking on camera and cooking in media. I was like, there's 2 things here I'm really good at. Like,
All right, so you had a clear vision, like.
Yeah. I said it.
That's unusual, like, especially you were still only 3rd year in college, like.
Yeah, I was 21. Yeah,
It's hard to make a plan.
21.
Like that.
I turned 21 in Malta.
Yeah.
Yeah, my 21st over there. So when I was 21, I knew I was like, when I come home, I'm definitely starting this meal prep business. And I had eyes on TV or some show. I was like, this, because it was just clear to me the easiest thing for me was talking on camera. Loved it. It came so natural to me. Loved the attention of it. Loved it all. I was like, this is chalk and cheese. And I'm not a trained chef. So my whole thing was like, I'm not the best chef, but I'm really good at communicating it. And there's a really big split there.
You made your weakness an advantage.
Yeah, and I mean, I'd be the first person to admit that. Like, there's 1,000 better chefs than me, but I'm just really good at communicating and showcasing what I cook. And I always reference this, is that no one ever tastes my food when I cook on TV. You have no idea if my food
You
tastes
said that
good
to
or
me
not.
last week, and I thought that was so funny. I was like,
You have no idea.
right.
No one knows. Everyone says your food is so good. I was like, you have no idea. You've never tasted
it
my
could be
food.
absolute garbage. Yeah,
Yeah,
they have to make yummy noises.
I
The presenters are paid to make yummy noises.
Yeah, I can convince you that it's easy enough for you to try at home. That's my only job. You know, that this is manageable for you to go home and be like, I could cook that cake, or I could make that bolognese.
But that's a huge skill to be able to. We spoke of this, a guest reading yesterday, Jacqueline O'Donovan. We spoke about this, about having that skill of being able to like process information and then break it down simply so other people understand that information in
Yeah.
an engaging way.
Yeah.
That's a very difficult skill. Like,
That was my only asset in college. The only good thing I could do in college was presenting. So we would be in these focus groups, and I'd be with genius engineers, the lads like who were in the course. And it's funny, most engineers in particular like are quite introverted, were good at maths, good at chemistry. And I was just like, I don't know if you, I have a friend at home, Rob Sears. He's a Irish artist.
Yeah,
he
I
has
love
this
him.
thing of
He's brilliant.
he's the clown in the office. And he's like,
No
I'm
way.
not supposed to be here.
That's hanging in my office.
Yeah, it's hanging in my bedroom at home.
That's weird. I have the exact same
I've
thing.
never related to anything more when I
It
saw it.
sits on the wall in my office.
Yeah.
Because I was in Temple Bar one day and I walked by and I was like, that's me.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
have to get that. And I got it straight away, put it up. And I think it's the only thing hanging on our wall at home.
Yeah.
We haven't put up any photos or art or anything yet. And that's the one thing hanging on our wall.
It was exact. When I saw it, I couldn't relate to it more. That's what I felt in college.
It's amazing.
I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not supposed to be here. And like, and to the point where like, you're all much better engineers than I am. Like, I was like, but then when we would present, I was brilliant at it, you know. And it was a case where like, okay, lads, what do we have? Like, okay, Owen, here, you do your jazz hands. So I would go up and like, this is the bioreactor, and these are all the results, and everyone's like, whoa.
That's such a hard skill, though,
Yeah,
to be able
yeah.
to speak confidently on camera, on mic, in front of groups. Like yourself, I do a lot of like events and stuff now, and you see the varying levels of how hard people find it.
Yeah.
I was at an event 3 or 4 weeks ago, and 2 people got up to speak, and I thought midway through the person was going to burst into tears because their voice started to get a little bit high. And I was like, oh no. And I was standing beside them, and I was like,
head then, like, and you're
what?
like, oh, I'm breaking here. Yeah.
and the more they talked, the more they went, and then they started speeding up, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh no. You know, when you're like, what happens now? Because you see how tough it can be for people, and like the visible. The next chap that got up then, he was sweating so much. It was visibly running. It was like that meme. It was visibly running down his face.
Yeah.
And you forget like how tough a skill it can be. So
Yeah.
to get that skill when you're young is huge.
Yeah, I'm super fortunate. I got the reps in really early on, because then if you fast forward to 2 years after that, so I'm out of college. I started Country Munch,
So did you leave UL and then go straight into it?
graduated on Thursday, and catered for 150 people on Friday. Next day, well, I was already in it. We were in it that final year. We'll say I was balancing final year exams, and also we had bought a production kitchen. We were already up and running.
Really?
Didn't wait. Yeah, couldn't wait. It was happening too fast, and I was like, I reckon I can manage both of this. So we weren't doing to the scale that we could have been doing, just because half my day was tight. I had to go to compulsory labs and lectures and stuff. But no, that was it. We were full steam ahead, committed to it. Left college, that pulled the safety net away from me, and I think that's why I was so brave in college, because I had a safety net. You know, I had this kind of like, you know, oh, this is a big decision, but I could be an engineer if I had to. Like,
I think college is a great time to start
So do I,
businesses
yeah.
because you have that.
Worst case scenario, I'd fall into a really good salary as a chemical engineer.
And you've loads of time in college. You think you don't, but you actually do.
Yeah.
You've tons of time in college. And you also have the ability to talk and ask anybody for anything. If you're a student, if you're in UL, or if you're in Trinity, or you're in UCD, you can contact pretty much anyone, especially alumni, and go,
Only cold calls. That was me, like cold emails.
Unreal.
Sure.
People like, I'll give him a shot.
Yeah.
You know, he's going for it. He's going for his dream.
Yeah.
Whereas you're out of college, you're just another business.
Yeah.
You're just another lad with a business.
Yeah,
Whereas
yeah.
when you're in college, they're like, fair play to him.
Yeah.
Giving it a shot.
And they never suspect. Like, I would reach out to everyone. People that we work with today, competitors that we would have surpassed, I would have reached out to them in early days, asked them what are their processes. Do you know, other meal prep companies, like, do you know, what's your kitchen look like? And they taught me everything, because they never suspected that you could get to a scale where you compete against them, or do you know, it's you're very unassuming when you're a
you've perfect cover.
You know, perfect cover as a college student, as a naive college student, you know.
And you are as well, because you again, it's your weakness into an advantage thing. You do have a lot going against you, because you know you've no credibility,
of course,
in traditional sense. But like, people will give you a shot.
Yeah, people don't to lose then.
Everyone sees themselves.
Yeah.
Everyone sees themselves in you. Then going, fair play to them.
Yeah, and I always say I had nothing to lose. Like, I had nothing to lose in those 2 years when I was trying to start the business in college.
How did your mindset change when you left college then, or did it?
It was more pressure. When I left college, I was like, right, this kind of has to work now. You know, my schedule changed for one thing. I had way more time now in the day because before that, my 9 to 4, 9 to 3 was college.
Yeah.
So now I had 6 hours, 7 hours in a day to put into the business, which is daunting in itself because then you're like, I don't know if there's enough business
What am I meant to do?
Yeah. There at 10 o'clock, like, I don't know what to do with myself here.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's daunting. It was daunting leaving for sure. And it was, I suppose, the biggest stepping stone I had to take to that point, for sure. Like, we hadn't invested massive money at that point. We got a production kitchen, taken out a loan. I got approved that loan when I was in college. That was all fine. So then when you leave college, there's a small bit of pressure. I was like, right, there's a certain amount of responsibility here now that I've committed to. But no, I was always fine with that.
And how were you growing? You were on social media. You were kind of documenting your journey still, or
Yeah.
how were you growing the business?
It was still very much through social media. Social media marketing was the biggest thing. I was growing it through me. That was the best way to say it. I was growing my platform, Eoin Sheehan as the food blogger, and then Country Munch was this spinning wheel beside me that traffic comes through me and gets bled into the business. That was where I always ran it. Now, thankfully, that's double-edged sword then because the business is so reliant on me then. You know, and it got to a stage where I was like, geez, if I ever want to exit, I won't be able to because I'm so tied to this brand. But no, that's changed over the last few years. You know, we've got contracts in and Country Munch is its own kind of entity now. Most of the work we do now, they have no idea who I am or what I do.
But that's the dream, right?
Yeah, so that was perfect. So early days, it was tied to me. I was singing and dancing. Whoever would listen to me, I would talk to. I would do every interview, every podcast, everything. I would just say yes to everything. Do YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, just trying to grow numbers and then get people in through that.
And how were you converting them across? Because I think that's the big bit people miss. People think, oh, we'll do social media. But they forget the part of actually translating that into euros. So how did you do that?
There was twofold in that I think I was living proof of it. So I had gone through a big weight loss journey. So people were correlating my weight loss to the meals. And rightly so.
Yeah.
That was my selling point. I was like, I've lost a lot of weight. This is the food I eat. If you'd like to try it, click this button. So that was a pretty good incentive.
Yeah.
There is something of like this young lad from West Limerick. He's making a lot of noise. People tend to look anyway. I always found that. I got a lot of traction just from just making enough noise. You know, plenty of just content, and there's a small town mentality then of like, who's your man talking to his camera on the farm, talking to these animals? You know, that gets traction and that gets, you know, people want to chat you more. So that was entry level stuff. And then word of mouth. Word of mouth was always a massive for us. You know, people try the food. It's a really easy sell. You know, it's your convenience is what we sell. Time. We really doubled down on that. Was that, you know, the food is good. It's cooked in a healthy manner, but you get an hour back in your evening time. You know, you buy 5 dinners. It's your dinners from Monday to Friday done. You don't have to cook this week. And that was, you know, the biggest selling point still to this day. We sell convenience. We sell time.
Do you ever find it hard to put yourself out there? Do you ever find it hard to kind of almost live online?
No, I've pulled back more in recent years because I haven't needed to do it as much.
Okay.
In the early days, I obviously had something to prove, but also was trying to so desperately to grow this brand like that. I would sing and dance for anyone. Whereas definitely the last 2 years, I've become more selective. You know, I'm better at saying no to certain gigs if I don't need to do them, if they don't serve me. I've pulled back from social media myself. You know, I don't need to be too self-absorbed by it anymore. But it's just through necessity for me, like, or lack thereof. You know, I don't need to be singing and dancing anymore.
Well, you've other outlets now,
the ship
right?
is steadied a small bit, you know, especially with the business-wise. So then my focus then can be put into media and better use of my time then, for sure.
How did you move into media? How did you move into kind of like mainstream media?
Yeah, so we started with social, cut my teeth, making my own videos. And then just out of the blue, got an email from Virgin Media. A chef had put my name forward. So there's a chef on the show. They're looking for young male chefs on 6 o'clock show. This was when I was 23, so 4 years ago. Just turned 23. My TV debut was when I turned 23, the week of my birthday.
Really?
Yeah, same week. And it was like, it was a really, really quick process. The email saying we're looking for new young male chefs. There's very few in Ireland. Still to this day, there's not many young male chefs. So I went up to Dublin, you know, blue-eyed, bushy-tailed, like skipped into Virgin Media. Did a
I'm here. Where's my dressing room?
yeah.
How does this work?
Yeah. Did like a mock cooking segment with no cameras, just with like the runner. And she's like, yeah, cool. Yeah, you can talk on camera.
You didn't do the F-bomb live. We can run with
Yeah,
this.
yeah. But I remember she was like, she's really comfortable on camera. I was like, I've been talking to cameras for years.
Did
Like,
you feel, how did you feel though? How did you feel moving into that new world?
I felt pretty comfortable. Yeah, I don't remember much nerves. I was nervous of the live element
Right.
because a lot of the content that I'd done was so raw, and the reason it got traction was it was really authentic. Like if you watch any old content or follow any socials, it was very much what you see is what you get. You know, I curse regularly, I am who I am, good days are shown, the bad days are shown. That was it. And that's why it worked. People really related to that. Like, this is a kind of no bullshit approach. So then on TV, then it needs to be a little bit more fine tuned where you can't drop the F-bomb, don't incriminate yourself. You know, small things where I'm like, right, let's not say this silly story or whatever it may be.
You're trying to remember where the line is. You're
Yes,
like,
you're
is
towing
that
the
okay
line
to say out
small.
loud?
And, you know, the live element where there's no cut button. If you say it, you say it.
Yeah.
You're done, you're done.
Yeah.
But that was really exciting.
Did you?
Really-
You reveled in that as opposed to
I
like
loved it.
people getting freaked out by
Loved
it.
Loved it.
Okay.
Yeah. And you wouldn't know. You wouldn't know from my first few episodes. I was definitely raw as opposed to I am now. But I don't think I was that nervous, no.
And
But
you've
I
just
was
done 100.
Just did 100, yeah,
That's
last week.
wild.
100 episode, yeah. But I always say this, I'm protected by my frying pan, like, you know.
How do you mean?
I'm not the focus, really. The food is. So even in
All
those, in the first 10 cooking demos, I studied the dishes. I had 10 things to talk about. So I remember I was doing risotto. My first ever episode was risotto. I remember in the car sitting outside Virgin Media, like collecting myself, and I had notes on my phone like risotto comes from Italy. Typically use this. You could use this. This is the background of it. I had things nailed down. I had the brief memorized back to front.
Right. So you've done your reps, you've done your prep, you were ready to go.
Yeah, so then I knew worst case scenario, if I'm getting nervous, just fall back onto some of the things,
Yeah.
you know. And worst case scenario,
It's a good
just
idea,
talk
yeah.
about what you're doing, you know. It wasn't an interview where like, okay, Owen, tell us this. It's like, oh, what are you doing now? It's like, oh, yeah, now I'm frying off the bacon. And of course, there's a certain level of you need to be natural and cool about it.
It needs
But
to be a bit interesting as
yeah,
well.
also,
don't you?
I'm protected. You only see the top half of my body. I'm behind the counter. I'm the chef. At the end of the day, they're here for the food, not for me.
Right.
So it's my job then to get as much out of that, show as much as my personality as I can in 6 minutes was cooking a dinner. And that was really fun.
Because it's rapid, like. Those
Oh, yeah.
demos are so rapid. You're kind of,
Yeah.
because then you start cooking yourself and you're like, fuck him anyway, this is bloody harder than I thought it was going to be. Like, you
like-
start cooking at home yourself and you're like,
One of the episodes, Bob Geldof was on, and I made him taco fries. But he talked so long in his interview, I had 4 minutes to make sweet potato taco fries. So my whole segment was gone, like. And it was nearly the running joke of like, oh yeah, I have 4 minutes to make this. Now luckily I had like one I made earlier.
yeah.
But like sometimes...
Is that the trick, is it? You always have one stashed underneath.
Like that. The prep is everything, like.
Okay.
There are dishes where I will do from scratch up there, like a stir fry or something, but I have it timed. You know, I've never in my life not gotten a meal not finished there or not plated up, whatever. Like, I just have cues myself. There's it's just, you hear the runners. You hear like 2 minutes left, 1 minute left. When I hear 1 minute, I stop cooking, I play it up. That's
So you hear that in your ear, do you? You hear like...
I know, just from studio. I'll see it. They'll hold
okay.
2 and 1.
These are all the little nuggets you like
Yeah,
to get out,
yeah.
right? See? You don't get that anywhere
So
else.
as soon as I hear 1 minute left,
Okay.
I stop cooking. I play it up. I finish it, gloss it up, give it to the presenter. They taste it.
Okay.
That's it then, you know.
What's
But
been
like that.
what's been the weirdest one, or what's been the one where you're like, oh, I can't believe that happened?
I've had no major disasters. There's one where they have prop towels there that are like stitched into the oven, and I was trying to take the towel off the oven to get something out of the oven, and I spent maybe 4 seconds pulling out a prop towel, trying to pull it off the rack.
Okay.
Just realised, okay, this actually isn't a towel at all. I've burnt a couple things, but kind of hidden it well. Where there was one where like it was in the oven, it was incinerated, but I just didn't bother opening the oven. I knew it was burnt. So I was like, where's she going to work on these ones instead? And I glossed this up and finished that.
Okay,
But I've
so
done some
you know your kind of different routes, and you know right where this is going. You know exactly what should happen at this time, and that's
Yeah.
how it all works. Okay.
Last summer I did one with Coolio, rest in peace. Actually passed away a couple months after I did a segment with him, but he did a segment, and I've never met a man more passionate about food.
Really?
It's so bizarre, man. I'll
Really?
never forget. I went in the studio and they were like, "Do you know who's on today?" And I never know who's on. I was like, no.
Okay.
They're like, Coolio's on. I was like, oh, cool. He's doing like a Zoom. Like, no, he's in set. He's on studio.
Deadly.
I was like, you're joking me. So he comes in, man, cool as ever. And then he's like, oh, yeah, man, I have a cookbook. So
No way.
Then me and him were chatting.
Oh, class.
He was huge on farming. He bought his own farm in the States, was bringing over Irish seeds to grow.
Wow.
And then we made like a meatball sub together. That was probably the best episode I ever did. The most enjoyment I ever had.
Because he was into it, like. Because
Oh,
I'm sure you get the
love
others as well. I'm sure you get the others.
Yeah,
that
and
people
there's this
couldn't
mad
give a
thing where
shit.
I'm like, this man is a legend in front of me, but he's talking to me as if like she's like, I can't, how do you manage a segment? He's asking me questions about my job. I'm like, this is nuts, like,
Yeah,
it's
one of, the,
crazy.
one of the biggest stars in the world.
Yeah,
like, at the time when
100%,
all those songs came out, you're like, he's massive, like.
It was class. So I'm blessed, man. I've had 100 opportunities to meet the most amazing people. Like, that's why I love the show. It's a great platform and I get loads from it, but every time I go there I get to meet someone new. I chat to them, and it's a very just like relaxed. I cook them dinner, they eat my dinner, we chat. It's lovely, like.
Like, it's not easy. Like, you travel up from Limerick to do it, like.
Yep. Yeah, I travel from Limerick every time, up and down. So I've done 100 round trips.
Like, it's not like I do follow your social media. It's very good, and you kind of see like leaving at like 6 a.m. road trip, back up, down, straight away back in the prep kitchen the next morning. Like, it's not easy graft though. Like,
no, it is. There's an awful lot of spinning plates to it. Like,
pun intended.
And most,
nice.
pun intended, absolutely, yeah. Most chefs on that show are the same. Most chefs are coming from restaurants or they're coming from their own stuff, and I'm no different. I'm coming from. I usually will go into Country Munch that morning. We'll do a production. I'll leave at 2. I get there for 4. I set up the kitchen, hair and makeup at 5, get a coffee, meet the guests. We're live at 6, done at 7. I'm on the road for 7:15. I'm home for 9.
There's the glamour you don't see,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's a full day. It's a full day,
Yeah.
But
And you've done that 100 times.
Yeah.
You're doing your reps now in a different format.
yeah. It all played into each other. I really do think that, like, I didn't know at the time, like, but I was just ironing out the creases in those early days, talking to video and camera, getting used to my voice, getting used to talking on camera, getting used to like small things, and you never notice that, but when you're pouring something on camera, you have to pour to the camera so you can see what's in the pot.
Yes.
I never knew that until we were doing videos at home.
The subtle things.
And the videographer was like, oh man, pour towards me so I can see it. Oh yeah, cool. So when I'm on TV.
Because you always pour sideways. I'm just thinking of it as now, you'd always pour sideways. Like, you're never going to like.
Pour towards you, yeah. So it's counterintuitive to everything to be done away
flip.
from you.
Yeah.
But I knew that straight away.
Yeah,
so then
okay.
on TV they're like, okay, this fella knows what he's doing.
You've got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That shows the value of doing your reps, no matter what business you're starting or doing. Reps.
Yeah.
It's all about reps.
And the other big element to that was I came into that slot, wanting to be a personality and TV chef.
Right.
Every other chef is just, well, no, I won't say every other chef. There's plenty of good chefs there, but a lot of chefs come in to promote their restaurant or promote their business. Where I promoted nothing. I was just promoting myself.
Right.
If you see the pop up, I get a tag, we'll say, and it'll always be ex-chef, this is his restaurant. For me, it's Eoin Sheehan, and this is his handle on social media.
Clever.
I never asked him to do Country Munch because it wasn't relevant.
So you playing a long game here?
Yeah, I've been playing the long game. How long have I to play this? I am, of course.
What would you love? Right. What would the big picture be like?
Jeez, man, I love what I'm doing at the moment. Yeah, but having said that, I do need progression. I wouldn't be comfortable. Even though I love what I'm doing now, getting comfortable always gives me kind of cold feet a small bit. Like getting fidgety. You just need progress to a certain degree. So yeah, look, there's tons of scope to improve on. Do more media, do more outside the show. And I always thought that was a TV show, but I don't think it is anymore. I think it's a online social media show or YouTube show. When I growing up, I would have idolized like Jamie Oliver, and he had like 10 shows on Food Network.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's where the audience is anymore. audience is on YouTube or is on socials. Or
I think so too. Yeah, I
So
think
yeah,
it's a
so
blend
my-
of both. I think your anchor content on YouTube, and then your feeder content on socials. And
yeah.
one hand washes the other.
Absolutely,
I think that's
yeah.
where it is. I can't remember the last time I sat down and watched a TV show,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll watch stream everything.
100%. Yeah.
Watch Gordon Ramsay on whatever it is, Netflix or whatever demand it is, or
Yeah.
watch YouTube every day. You know, that's where it is. It's
Yeah.
on demand.
And I was always the same. Like I always was taking in the content, but I just assumed I need to be on RT2 or RT1 or Virgin Media. That's where my show needs to be.
There's still power in traditional media. I think
100%,
it's
yeah.
deceptive. I think
And
we,
it's,
we kind
you
of
know-
ignore how many hundreds of thousands of people are sitting down there every evening
Absolutely,
at 6
yeah.
o'clock.
Yeah. But like that, you play to your strengths, and there's huge scope for creativity, for like authenticity with social media and online stuff. You know,
And then your own business, Country Munch, where is that right now? You've been doing the meal preps, but
thankfully
that's
it's in-
evolved, right?
It's in a great place, yeah, for sure. It's been a huge grind and a massive graft for the last 5 years now. So we started as a meal prep service, cut our teeth in that, and was kind of taking everything and anything. So the online service has grown substantially. So we do every week we'll have substantial online orders. People order their meals, regional based, Limerick, Clare, and Tip. But our bread and butter is sports catering. So we'd be contract caterers for all Limerick GA, Munster Rugby youths, so all the youth camps in the summertime, Munster senior ladies team, the development squad, and we'd have inlets with the Clare GA, Tip GA, Cork GA. Any GA team that comes to Limerick, we usually feed them. So that was revolutionary for us. Like
That's a really interesting niche. We were talking about it off camera, but like that sport nutrition element is really interesting.
Yeah, and it kind of comes full circle to that's why I started it.
That is kind of nice, isn't it?
And it took us from me being door to door sales of like trying to ask you to buy 5 dinners to find a team to feed 40 of their players or
every
find
week
an organization
for X amount of time.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
game changer in
So
terms
our
of business.
volume went through the roof then, and like the business continues to double year on year. So, and the best part of all is I'm not intimately linked to it anymore. People still know it's mine, but when we approach a team for it to be a caterer, it's irrelevant.
They're not giving it to you because it's seen you in Virgin Media. They're giving it to
I'm
you
an
because
asset
you have
for sure. you know,
of course.
Asset for sure, be it to come at it from the nutrition point of view. So
There's social proof. I think the businesses that realize the power of social proof is huge. Going, well, can't be a total doofus if he's on Virgin Media. Like, he can't be awful. And he's also got social proof of Munster, Tip, Limerick.
Which is funny, and like, I won't say it bothered me for a while, but as soon as I did my first TV segment, I went from being a food blogger to a TV chef. And for me, it was like nothing is. It's the same. So when I was doing corporate demos, and I do a ton of corporate demos. It's half my business is doing demos all over the country. And the sell prior to being a TV chef was a tough sell. It's like, I'm a food blogger, I have a startup business. This is my price, blah blah blah. Whereas now you're nearly sought after, and it's like, oh, TV chef Eoin Sheehan, Virgin Media's Eoin Sheehan.
But instantly people know what you are then. When you're a food blogger, you could be anything. You could have 3 followers.
Yes.
It could be your mom and your
That was
aunt and
it.
your neighbour.
Like,
whereas when you're on Virgin, it's like,
the level of credibility
Yes.
it gave me was money couldn't buy it for sure. Which again, not that it bothered me, like, but there's a sense of falseness there. It's like, nothing has changed, but 1,000 doors have opened, which is great.
why did it bother you though? Surely that would be like,
It is.
sweet.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. I of course, obviously it was sweet, and that was always thing of get the credentials and use it. But I suppose it was like, you should have valued me before I was a TV chef as well. It's the same set. Nothing has changed.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, you didn't suddenly get a new qualification. You just a new
nothing.
outlet.
It was Monday I was this, Tuesday I was this, and now you all want a piece.
But how do you view it now though?
Well, now with the fact that I've been here for 5 years, it's like you said, the reps have been done, and I've enough banked now where couldn't be more comfortable doing them. It's probably my favorite thing to do is the demos, because it's in person. I get to meet people, I get to cook in front of them, they get to smell the food, taste the food, and interact with them, and it's ticking that box of performative. I'm on stage.
Okay, you're giving yourself that.
Yeah. So it ticks all the boxes for me. I love it.
Has it been challenging learning from scratch though? You've done everything essentially the hard way, if you want to call it that way. You've self-taught. you've built your own audience, you know, you've built your own business. Like, they're all very difficult things. To do one of those is tough. To do all three from scratch is tough.
Yeah. It is and it isn't. I enjoyed it, and I could never plan to do any of it. I think that was the biggest thing, was it just felt right and it was what I wanted to do. And I always say, the day I stop enjoying this, if I don't want to cook anymore, I won't. I'll do something else. I'll pivot. I really do enjoy it. Like, and that was, I suppose, a constant reminder for me was,
Right.
if I want to make money, I would have been an engineer. You know, if I wanted a safe, secure job, I'd go to a big firm, be a big biochemical engineer. I'd go abroad, go to the oil. You'd make a killing. I'd be so set. But it's not what I wanted. I chose, when I left college, I made a decision, right, I don't want security. I want the fun and the thrill and the joy of being an entrepreneur and starting a business. So for me, then, need to keep chasing that. That has to be at the forefront. So
what's next? You seem like a guy, forward momentum above all costs, right? What's
Yeah.
next for you then? Because you seem like you've constantly evolved and you've constantly pushed forward. So what's the next big push?
at a nice place now where I can kind of split all of the entities into their own fields. So Country Munch is a sports catering service. We know what that is now. We're really clear on what we really clear on what we do well. You know, we did an awful lot early days. We did anything you wanted, we'd do. Whereas now we know what we're good at, and we're really good at that, and we stick to that. So there's really clear progression there. It's a case of more teams. We have capacity to probably double where we are at the moment before we need to make. You know, we could double now with a minor investments as opposed to a big investment to go again. In my own field, I can push social media, grow that platform, more inlets on TV, just try and showcase the personality side behind the food more, whether that's through cooking show on TV and social media, more media bits, more, and it's down to myself. I need to get more consistent again with posting recipes and back to those days of building the blog again. You know, when I got busy and when I didn't need to do it, I took the foot off the gas.
It's funny how that works, isn't
Yeah.
it? It's
Yeah.
funny how, like, and I've made this mistake. I've only kind of had this realization this year. As the pod gains traction, I'm like, I've felt this before, but when I felt it before, I kind of eased off the throttle. I was like, oh, this is good.
Yeah.
In the previous business, I kind of got it to a certain point and then it eased off the throttle because it was like probably fear, probably level of comfort / laziness going, oh, well, it's going okay.
Yeah.
So how are you finding, you don't seem like you lack ambition, so how are you finding tapping back into that to kind of keep driving?
Like, my secret to success was consistency. I had disciplined consistency. That time I lived in Malta, I posted every day for 2 years. Never missed a day.
That's
ever
unreal.
in my life.
Yeah. And that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Consistency and
for
intensity.
me, it was so easy. I was like, how doesn't everyone do it? I just...
What do you think it was, though? Why was it easy? Because that's the thing I want to try to tease out with you.
The creativity came easy to me. I could really... Well, there's actually two sides to this, and I think the engineering mindset really helps me as well, because I'm very logical. So it's like, okay, what I need 30 posts this month if I want to post every day. Now, I don't do it anymore. But back then, for me, it was black and white. The more I post, the more followers I get. The more followers I have, the more traction I get, the more traffic I get. The more traffic I get, the more sales we get. So it's like, cool. So how do I get more followers? I need to post more. So what do? I schedule 7 posts every week. So every Monday, I pick 7 photos of food that I've eaten this week or food that I've cooked. I schedule them out. I do that once a week. I'll do it for 2 weeks. And then I did it every month. I did it for 2 years. And that was just, it was just, you know, not that it wasn't a big workload, but it was really easy for me to see and track the progress of that. And then you're being positively reinforced then by numbers growing. And it probably gets to a point then where like, okay, I'm not getting the same kick. I don't feel the need. I'm sure there's an element there of like, I needed validation through social media because I'm not a trained chef. So I don't need that validation anymore. And I think that's why, and I don't see it as a negative, like I took the foot off the gas a small bit with social media because I didn't need that validation anymore. I got a beautiful girlfriend, you know. Early days, validation for me came from social media. It was attention.
Right.
Wanted attention from everything and anyone, especially losing weight, all that kind of stuff. All of that fed into this obsessive tendency, into this kind of real discipline, consistency, easy growth metrics. And then you get to a point, okay, things are good now, and life changes. Like, oh yeah, that doesn't really serve me as much anymore. I don't need that validation. Now it's actually more of a burden on me, if anything else, to try and think of 7 recipes this
How
week.
do you balance that though? Because that's
That's
kind of
the
your bread and butter, right? No pun intended again, but like that's kind of your bread and butter. How do you balance that, right? Because that's kind of your gig, right?
Yeah, the kicker is that you need to see it from a different viewpoint. So now, instead of it being I need validation, now it's a case of, okay, because this is going to work towards the next goal.
Yeah.
So, and it's that's very easy for me. So like that, I need to go back to that kind of engineer brain of like, right, what's the goal now for the next 6 months?
What's the next stage? Yeah.
It might be a number, probably won't be a number like on social media. I don't there's no correlation to that. There was before, now there's not. But there's a different metric. It's like, okay.
It's funny though in life, like I said this to someone last week about the pod. I was like, very rarely in life do you get presented with opportunities whereby if you do this, this, and this, it will equal success.
Yeah.
For me, I know if I do more episodes with better guests, put them out with more frequency, I will grow. It's wild.
And that's right, yeah. That's what I had
in
those early years.
Yeah, it's
For
strange.
me, it was black and white. But, like, at what cost? And that was my thing early days, at what cost? This is easy for me, but at the cost of relationships.
It's a toll.
Social outings, normal life in those early years, didn't really have that. I was very much in that young entrepreneur growth mindset. More is better, and the more disciplined I am, the more we grow. And that was it. And I was being positively reinforced in by growth, be it numbers on social media, be it sales. Everything was feeding into this ecosystem of just more and more and more.
Did it take a toll on you? Was it hard?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I just had to relearn. I suppose that I had to get to a point where I was like, at what point does this, where does this go? What age would I have been? Probably like 24, 25. I was lonely. I remember, and I'd never felt that before. I remember being really lonely at a point. And it's not a case where I had no friends. I have really great friend groups and that, but I had no close relationships because all of my effort and time went into myself. And it was really weird. I literally remember journaling it. I was like, I feel lonely for some reason. And that was the first time I ever became open to having a partner or being in a relationship. Prior to that, it was never a priority.
Really?
Never, no. Never had a girlfriend.
But you seem quite intuitive into yourself, even the journaling piece. Like.
Yeah. Always journaled all through those years.
Really?
Yeah, always kept a journal, still to this day.
Which is rare. Like it is rare, especially among young men. Like it is getting more popular now, but like it is rare to have that kind of self-awareness piece.
I would argue I kept a journal it was still that kind of weird mindset of this will be fun to read back in years to come to see what I was thinking about. And if you read them back, they're very, I would classify it as lone wolf. And that's what I've been told by a therapist as well. I was in a lone wolf era.
Okay.
Where it was just, this is my world. I'm in this by myself. It's, very much you're more is better. Get to this certain point and you'll be happy and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I did that for as long as I could. And there was no turning point where it was like, okay, things changed. But
I was going to ask you, like, was it therapy or was it reaching a stage or what was it that made you kind of go?
No, it was before therapy that I realised that, but it was through therapy that I suppose I reflected more on it.
Understood it, maybe.
Understood it, yeah. Because I have tendencies to fall back into that space of that lone wolf. And I think it's a battle that most entrepreneurs
But it serves you, right? Sometimes it serves you, and that's the issue, is that the wolf can kind of get you things you want, right?
That's why I'm good at my job, is because I have that discipline, consistency. But then, there comes a point when that eats into every other element of your life, and you need to find this balance. That's really hard to find.
We had like a 45-minute coffee about it there. Like, it's so difficult.
Yeah.
It's so difficult to try find the sweet spot between graft and gratification.
Yeah, and am I doing this because this is self-love, or am I just being complacent? Or am I just happy with what I have?
Yeah, am I being lazy, or am I being
lazy, or is this
what I need? Yeah. Do I need a recharge, or am I just being a lazy feck? Like, it's wild as an entrepreneur because you've no one to go, okay, Owen, this week here's your key metrics I need you to hit. Whereas when you're on your own, it's just, okay, Owen, this is what I think I should do this week. I think it's experience. I've definitely got better at kind of knowing myself, but you do need check-ins.
And so have I.
You touched on it there in terms of sounding boards. I think that's very important.
Yeah,
like having people you go, here, have you ever had this? And they'll be like, oh, I've had that and that and that. Mm-hmm. And especially, I have an accountability buddy every quarter, and every month we sit down. And it's funny now, I've been doing it for about two, probably 3 years. But as he gets to know you better, he starts to see patterns emerging. And you go, oh, because then you see it yourself. You can hear yourself saying the words out loud.
You need someone to call you out on that.
But sometimes even when you just say it out loud, you go, I said this 9 months ago, didn't I? Mm-hmm. It's amazing. Even speaking it out loud, you kind of go, I can actually see it. You don't actually need to say anything. I can actually see it now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's like sounding boards and people to talk to about that stuff, even just the smallest, minute things. Because you can ruminate these things in your head and they grow legs or they don't.
They grow bigger.
Because sometimes you need someone to be like, this is well within your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Absolutely go for it. Or you need someone to say, this is so different to the business you're in at the moment. Like, this is a complete rebranding.
Yeah.
For what? Is this where you're going? Is this where you see your vision going? Is this what you want? And that's a big thing. It's like, is this what you want to do when you work? And it's like, actually not really. It's just lucrative. I like the idea of it. But I've gotten better at that. I've certainly matured in that regard in the last 2 years. Since COVID, I actually think.
Okay.
Where I really became comfortable with, I don't need to be, my business or my work doesn't define me in that regard, I'm far more invested in my relationships, be it with my girlfriend or with my friends or my family. They have far more prevalence now than work does.
Why do you think since COVID?
I had to slow down. I was forced to stop for a while.
Interesting. So COVID was the break that you
COVID forced me to stop for 6 weeks.
Okay.
Prior to that, I worked relentlessly up until then. There was never breaks. There was obviously it was holidays, bits and pieces, but like in the grand scheme of things, my brain had never been given a chance to press pause and sit down and relax. And I was like, oh, okay.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah, this is kind of nice.
Yeah.
And then you go back again and you refreshed. And I was like, right, okay. And business started again. We started from scratch. Our meals were stopped literally. We went from building really kind of nice gradual progression to carpet pulled from underneath us. Did small bit of like essential services catering back then. Started from scratch again then. Just me in the kitchen back by myself. Then my buddy came in who's working with us to this day. He came in to give me a hand. Then our head chef came back in and we got a lead with a sports team.
Just you came back with a new focus.
One-off catering session with a sports team. They were like, that was really good. Completely rebranded and found our feet then, and then we found our niche. But yeah, since then a couple of, I suppose, other things happen in life too. You just get a different sense of life and what's important and what's not. Not that what I was doing before wasn't important, but it just served me differently, for sure.
Yeah, it's funny how those things at the time are awful. And at the time, you're like, oh, God, the business might never recover. But then you grow it back in a different way and you get a chance to go, maybe that's not what I was destined to do.
I think I became really comfortable with, like, if I never get it back, it'll be fine. I became really comfortable with that. It's like, and it wasn't a case of like, geez, I hope it doesn't, I hope I get a clean slate here. But I just became really comfortable. Like, if it doesn't work out this way, it'll be fine. We'll start from scratch again. We'll do something else, And I do think that would have been the case. I would have found a different avenue, would have found a way to express myself.
So what does the next 12 to 24 months hold for you? What's your kind of ambitions? Because you seem like a very driven guy.
Yeah.
What would you love to be doing 12, 24 months from now for us and now here again 2 years' time? What would we be talking about?
I've purposely always been trying to not step back from the business, but stay one layer behind it. So put in better people in me, put in better systems, and I suppose let that run as an entity by itself that I manage and oversee, and I still cook in and work on each week, absolutely. But the less I am involved in there, the better. I think the more I can work on it, the less I work in it. That was always my thing.
Yeah,
I don't need to be in it, I just need to work on it. So that's will grow nicely over the next 12 months, touch wood, and I'll manage that and grow it as much as I can, and double down on my own media, my own career. Be it, there's a whole world of corporate demos of I'm studying to be a nutritionist, so that's going to be I suppose an area that we're going to look into more, which just again comes back to those early days of being involved in sports and nutrition. I've actually found that the longer I've been in business, the more I'm coming back to what the reasons why I started.
It's funny, isn't it?
I've always everything circles back. Started the meal prep and then we branched into catering, but we became at sports catering, and I wanted to be just PT, but I didn't bother, and I branched into food. But now I have a mad interest, and I always have been a massive interest in nutrition. So this year I decided to go and study nutrition. So as of next year, I'll be a nutritionist. So it's coming back into that kind of world of fitness, but tying in both in together, which I think there's a huge gap in that market.
Oh, massive.
I think there's a huge missing link there between the PT and the fitness instructor and the chef.
Yeah.
There's no real in between there. A lot of PTs will have ebooks or will cook themselves, and a lot of chefs will do their own stuff, but there's no real integration.
Well, it's
there.
either that stereotypical like chicken and broccoli, or like let's bake a chocolate cake with 5,000 calories.
Yeah,
there doesn't seem to be that sweet spot in the middle of like, this is how you eat for performance, this is how you eat as an everyday person, as an athlete.
There's some people doing it great, but there's just a huge space.
I think it's massive. I think it'd be absolutely colossal.
And it's to lean on my strengths there from pieces on camera, video content, lean into that content. So I'd love for 2024 to be a more focused year on myself in that regard. Grow the media, and continue to, like, as good and all as that is business wise, keep working on myself in that regard. Don't become all consumed by it. Enjoy my life as well. I've had a mad 5 years. I'm 27. I've
packed a lot
lived a great life. Yeah, so far I love it. But I need to keep enjoying it. I need to enjoy it as much as I can.
But the reps you've done to get to 27 is huge. Like that sets you up.
And I'm
huge potential.
really proud of that. I'm really happy with what I've done. But there's loads more I want to do. But I'm trying to get better at stopping the smell in the rose a small bit, and live the life of a person in their late 20s.
A normal human.
Do
a quick fire round.
Yeah.
Right. What book would you recommend every entrepreneur must read?
The book I gift the most is The Alchemist. But
yes.
the one recently is Ikigai. The Ikigai, Ikagai.
Yes.
It's the Japanese. It's from the Blue Zones there. And it's their kind of meaning for what's your purpose, what's your Ikigai. It's brilliant.
Haven't read it. I read The Alchemist only recently. It's very interesting.
Alchemist was one was that Malta era. That was I read that.
Finding myself.
Gifted it to everyone. Yeah, I loved it.
In fairness, it's a good read. Okay, The Alchemist and Ikigai. What's something you didn't pay enough attention to early on, had to learn the hard way?
For myself, I won't say my own well-being, because I was a very physically fit person, but my own mental well-being probably didn't allow myself to feel much emotions. It was very much suck it up, drive on, progress, march on. Whereas I didn't really allow myself to experience much, express much, very much bottled it up and put on a brave face and told myself I was this renegade startup entrepreneur, young entrepreneur, and that was my brand. So personally, that's the mistake I made, and I've had to do a lot of work on myself now to catch up, I suppose, with not the emotional intelligence. I would have good emotional intelligence for other people, but not for myself. Really bad at expressing myself in that regard. So I've had to do an awful lot of catching up in that regard. Business-wise, cash flow. Really bad at cash flow when I started.
That helps.
Didn't realise about that at all. I had a lot of wake-up calls in that regard. So I wish when I started off business, someone explained to me that you should mind your money and be careful with it when you start making money. Don't just spend all your money to fulfill this contract, and then they don't pay you for 90 days.
That 90-day, 60-day, when you get that first one, you're like, what does net 60 mean?
What do you mean you won't pay me on Friday? I didn't even check when I started off. I just assumed people were paying me.
I assumed you'd be sound and just pay me at the end of the week when I give you the thing.
Oh, I learned the hard way,
That is tough. I think we all learned that when you're like, net 60? That makes no sense. What have you sacrificed to achieve your success?
Sacrificed a lot of travel early on in my early 20s. Didn't do any J1s. A lot of social living I didn't get to do. Sacrificed a lot in that regard, where I was in that lone wolf phase of my life where if it didn't really benefit what I was doing, I didn't do it. And I think, not that it has hurt me later on in life, but it's a sacrifice that I was comfortable to make. And I'm happy I made it, because everything happens for a reason, But it was an active sacrifice that I had to make, where, I'm not going to go to Australia. And I knew that. And I knew when I started the business, this is going to tie me to Ireland for a long time. At the time, and most of my friend group now don't live in Ireland. They're abroad. Whereas I knew when signing up to that, I was like, right, I'm buckling in here for the long run in Ireland. So, yeah, a lot of travel, a lot of normal early 20 living I didn't do. I matured very quickly. I acted like a 30-year-old when I was 20.
That's hard, yeah.
Yeah.
That is. You do put a lot of delayed gratification on yourself, like, oh, I'll do that later. Yeah. But then sometimes you realise there is no later. You just have to do it now.
That's it, yeah.
What would you do if I give you 10 million euro today?
I'd run out the door.
Go to Australia.
Yeah, exactly. If I won 10, or if you gave me 10 million, unfortunately, I'm an engineer. I'd be logical about it. Realistically, I'd put a portion aside for a rainy day.
Break it down for me.
10 is loads, like. Okay, I'll put it really simple. 5 million into the business, reinvest it in everything I'm doing now in myself and the business itself. 10% rainy day, 15% into investing, be it S&P, or probably take some risk there, and then I'd probably take whatever's left, 10, 15, to have some fun, buy some nice cars, treat my friends and family, go on holidays. I'd absolutely have a portion of that to have fun. And anyone that says they wouldn't is a liar.
I know. We do get some kind of answer. You're like, no. Where's the fun part of that? Like, where's the crack part of that? Like, you have to have a bit. If you got 10 million, it's chunky, like.
Yeah.
What's something in your daily routine you wish you'd started sooner?
Probably if I'm allowed to go back to early, is when I was a teenager. Exercise was something I didn't really put much thought into. Exercise for me back then was just, I have to go rugby training. I didn't really see the value in it. It was a chore.
Yeah. Whereas
now it's a pivotal part of my life. If I don't exercise, you notice it in me. I'm not as energetic. I'm not myself, really. So that's like a kind of non-negotiable. My week is training, whether it's jiu-jitsu, which is my main sport at the moment, or the gym work, or running, one or the other, any of those three. But a lot of the week for me is scheduled around that. There's something every day there needs to be some bit of activity. So yeah, even though I've been doing it for a long time, since early 20s, before that I never put emphasis on it. Never really looked after myself in that regard. And I looked the part. I was overweight all through my teens. Never paid much heed into exercise or nutrition.
If I give you 1 million euro today, between invested in one company or person, who would it be?
Myself. 100%.
I like that answer. If you had started a new company in the morning, what would it be?
Can it be in the food industry?
Can it be anything you like?
Yeah, I would probably stay in this field, but it would be probably more of a service-based subscription model. Yeah, I just think that this field is so just starting to get going at the moment, this field of health and wellness and nutrition. There's a massive, massive tie in there. So it would be an online service to some degree to facilitate the growth of that, whether it's, a nutrition database or some new health and wellness metric. I don't know what it would be, but yeah, it would be in that space for sure.
I think it's one of the biggest growth space in the next 10 years, especially.
It's one that I enjoy.
Health, fitness and longevity, I think they're the three, and they all tie in together.
Yeah.
What do you believe that other people would find strange or strongly disagree with?
I think all roads should have speed cameras. I've always said this.
I wasn't expecting you to say that.
And I know it's very controversial, but I just think that there'd be less road deaths if there was if people were always... Yeah, I've never understood why all roads, and it would pain me because I'm often stung for speeding and or those
cameras.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. The roads would be safer.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, random answer. Thanks for that. Well, that's this section is for. In your personal life, what's the one thing you spend money on that dramatically brings you happiness?
Food. I love food. Yeah, I
Like
love
what?
eating out.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Um,
If you have a chef on, you got to get some insider juice off them for food. Like, what's your go-to?
restaurants or foods?
Both.
I love breakfast and brunch. I'd rather go for breakfast and brunch than I would rather go for dinner.
Same.
Spots. There's a lot of good spots. If I'm in Limerick, I love Esquire's. The buttery's really good. Yeah, and I'm going for a breakfast option in there, and then like the ideal day for me would be that like a good heavy exercise gym session or activity in the morning, and then brunch
What's the
and coffee
brunch?
afterwards.
What's the brunch? What's the go-to brunch?
Oh, it sounds so fucking generic. Like with
Go on, say avocado toast. Go on, say avocado toast.
it kills me. Yeah, an egg-based dish anyway, probably for sure. Or I love a good sandwich. So if I can push it into brunch, I'll have a club sandwich.
Okay.
Club sandwich and a cup of soup. And I live the rest of my life on that.
Fair enough.
Any day of the week. And if you looked, don't know the funniest thing, if you were to ask what's the most interesting fact about me, I eat probably 80% just sandwiches.
Really?
Yeah.
As a chef, you eat 80%
You would be
sandwiches.
amazed at the lack of creativity I cook for myself. I love cooking for others. I don't really cook for myself much.
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. Well, it's not weird for chefs. I think most chefs are similar.
Really?
Yeah, you'd find like...
Considering you're into your health and fitness, that is strange.
Yeah, well, it's you know, I'm still conscious of what I'm eating. So I'm probably tracking my macros every day and my calories. But yeah, a lot of sandwiches, a lot of wraps. It's always on the go for me, really. So like turkey burgers are just a staple for me. But I always find people always say to me, geez, you must like cook lovely dinners for yourself.
You do imagine that, yeah.
And I was like, you would be horrified.
Well, you see on Virgin, you're cooking something in 4 minutes. You're like, surely he's knocking that together every night.
No, I'd say for the last 3 years, maybe 4 years, 3 years, I've had 3 eggs, 3 bacon medallions, mushrooms, toast, and tomatoes for breakfast.
Every day?
Just every morning.
Yeah. I'm guilty of that. Not guilty, but I would have the same breakfast
and
every day.
In the evening time, I will usually have baby potatoes in the air fryer with probably turkey burgers or some other mince or chicken and veggies. It's just for me.
Right.
It's yeah.
Simplicity, and it works.
I will say, mine probably tastes better than what other people do. Mine tastes good, even though it's generic. Stuff is seasoned well, it's cooked well. But yeah, I don't have these. I'm not eating carbonara 4 nights a week.
Yeah, well, I'd expect you to have it seasoned a bit better
Yeah.
than most. Right, give me your final piece of advice for every entrepreneur listening.
Keep the enjoyment. I think it's really important. It's something I constantly have to remind myself. Am I still enjoying this? Is this still what I want to do? Because if it's not, then we need to figure out what we want to do. That was always the thing for me is, you know, if life is about just making money, I should have been an engineer in the early days. There's a reason I chose not to do that. It's because I really enjoy what I do. I love what I do, so I have to keep that at the forefront. So any decision we make, granted it needs to benefit the business, but on the large scale of things, is this all playing into my early day decision of this is my fun and wacky world, and am I still enjoying it? Is it serving me? Am I serving it as well as I can? And is it fulfilling then every part of my life?
It's a good frame of reference.
Yeah.
Where can people learn more about you?
Eoin Sheehan on all social media. Instagram probably the most active at the moment, but go to my YouTube, you find all my old YouTube videos there. 6 o'clock show, 2-3 times a month, you'll find it there. But yeah, Instagram is probably the best reference. Instagram or LinkedIn.
Perfect. And if you're in Limerick, Tip or Clare?
Yeah, my only selling piece here, if you're localised to me, Country Munch for sure, countrymunch.com. If you're not, cooking demos. If anyone needs a cooking demo, want me to come to your home, your house, or corporate, I'll come.
There you go. Eoin Sheehan, thank you very much.
My pleasure, man. Thank you.
Made it all the way to the end. Click here to subscribe to the channel. Click here to listen to last week's interview. We do these interviews every single week, so hit subscribe. I'll see you in a few days.